Okay, yep, thanks. So this workshop will be about design and prototyping with Figma. So briefly, these are the things we're going to go through. So we'll first go through very briefly design thinking. Then we'll go through a simple little prototyping journal. Then we'll start to introduce Figma, learn some UI UX design principles, have a little challenge, and then we start with the hackathon stuff where we reveal the problem statement and stuff. So first, let's start with design thinking. So, wait, no, actually this slide should precede that. Okay, so where are the materials? So I will have to skim through a lot of these, especially the design principles and stuff, but all of these will be made available after the session. So why do you want to use design thinking? In short, you really just want to build something that people actually want to use. Because, you know, if you just build, not everyone will just automatically use it. So you might be familiar with stuff like design thinking frameworks. So like first you have to empathize with your users, you have to define the problem, you have to start ideating, you have to start prototyping, you have to start testing, stuff like that. But you know, other ways that we can do is we can also start by trying to find a problem first. So we come up with a problem, then we start to try to understand the problem, and then we think about who's actually affected by it. And then you know, just list down a whole bunch of ideas that can solve the problem. You know, you don't have to strike down any at this stage. You can just keep an open mind, and you can come up with a final problem statement. So this is an example of what a problem statement looks like. So it's like my app or my website will help who with, you know, a problem, opportunity, or challenge by doing what. So don't try to do this where you make an overly vague thing where, you know, like my website will help everyone with, you know, remembering their lines for a presentation by using machine learning. That makes no sense because no one knows how it actually works. So you can be a bit more specific like this. So my website will help developers with solving problems by providing a questions and answers platform. So that's Stack Overflow. Then my website will help students with, you know, working together while coding by providing a real-time collaborative coding platform, kind of like Google Docs. You know, that sounds very cool. Yeah. And finally, you know, my website will help everyone with, you know, cleaning up their email by using machine learning to automatically sort and organize them. So that's Inbox by Google, which they discontinued, and I'm still sad about it. But yeah, so this is how problem statements work. But the easiest way to show all of these is actually just by doing it. So I'll just give a quick demo on using a prototyping journal in this case. Okay, so why you would want to use one is it helps to organize your thoughts. So listing down and like mentioning all of these in a document also allows everyone in your team to be on the same page about the status of the product. It also helps, you know, document the journey while designing the website. So this is the prototyping journal. So let's hit back here. Okay, so no, I don't. Oh, sure. Okay, so this is a demo of the journal. I think I'll share it with all of you later. So let's set this to fit. Okay, so this is a bit bigger. So first, the journal kind of guides you through a bunch of like steps. So this is because we got very distracted by these cool features in Google Docs. Okay, but so first you try to start thinking of problems. So when we release the problem statement later, you can kind of think about, based on the problem statement and the target audience they mentioned, are there any problems that they face and stuff? And then you can go. So maybe I want to, let's think of one right now. You know what, homework, okay? I don't want to do my homework. And then my group, which is just me, thinks that this is an amazing idea. So, yep. And if you want, you can always add more problems here. So I want to add more problems, and I do not have any problem, which is a problem. So I have no problems. So this, yeah, so you said that's bad, so this is bad. Okay, so now you pick the most interesting one, and this is the most interesting one I found because that's the only one I liked. So now explain it in one sentence. So I can say in this case, some people find homework tiring to do. Typing in one hand is actually surprisingly tiring. Okay, so then start to understand. So dig deeper. Why do your target audience actually feel this way? And like, try to understand the problem a bit more. So maybe you want to know like, why do teachers give homework? Okay, I am taking very long to type. Okay, so maybe I don't know, so I want to learn more. And maybe how do I get around it? Yeah, I'm tempted to. Yep, so maybe I already know how to get around it, just coming up with a bunch of homework excuses, that would be very helpful. So, okay, so now who actually cares? So, in your actual journal, you should be filling out a bit more than this so that you can understand the problem a bit better. But now who actually cares? So obviously students, obviously other stakeholders. So other stakeholders can be teachers. I mean, they are not directly affected by the homework, but they are stakeholders in that they give the homework. So teachers. And yeah, I guess that's it. So now let's start ideating. Okay, so oh, new mic. Okay, Tess, can you hear me?
Are you able to hear him?
Are you able to hear? Okay, so first let's start with an idea. Okay, so maybe let's have a website that shows AI generated homework excuses. Because if we use AI generated homework excuses, it'll always be unique every single time, which is very important, constant stream of unique excuses. So now I should come up with more ideas. So maybe a reminders app to remind me of homework. How it'll help remind me of homework. Okay, and then now you start to think based on these ideas that you come up with. So you can come up with a whole bunch of these ideas. Like, because you work in a group, at least each person can come up with 2. And then you start to focus in. So now you go and look through all of these and go, okay, now what exactly do we want in our product? So now you think, okay, so my website will help blank, so students with their homework by using AI to generate homework excuses. So this will be my revolutionary billion-dollar startup, I think. So then you start to think about this from the perspective of now what are the goals that you want to achieve. So let's say, okay, so now we want to be able to generate excuse. So that would be very important because that is a core functionality. Wait, no, that's a very important. And maybe you might want to also have features like I want to assign it to a teacher, because if I use the same excuse on the same teacher, right, they're going to call me out on it. So I cannot do that. So I need to assign to teacher an excuse to a teacher to prevent reusing excuses. So this is good to have. I mean it's somewhat important, but like it's not as important as generating excuses. So you can come up with a whole bunch of these goals for your product, and eventually you come to the planning stage. So this is where you actually figure out what exactly you want inside here. So you think about the actions that the user will take and the results. So maybe they enter the website, so visit the website. So what they want to see is a list of excuses they can choose from. And to overcomplicate this, maybe we have a login page. Click on login button. Sign into the website. Assign, then they'll be able to see favorited excuses. Sure, that works. This app is completely fictional, by the way. No one's actually gonna build it. And then you can also add a whole bunch of more actions and results in this case, but you can also realize that you don't need a whole bunch of different actions in your app, in your website, to just make it a good website. Some websites are just very good at one thing. No, just have very few actions, but they do those very well. And then you start prototyping. So now you define your user flows. So so think of this like a morning routine or something. So step by step, what you do. So maybe my user visits my website. So let's say get excuse. So the user visits the website, and then the next step they want to do is they want to look. They will see a list of excuses. So then the user can select excuse. So once they select an excuse, they can copy the excuse to the clipboard. Okay, copy excuse to clipboard. User can share the excuse with their teacher. And maybe we have another login flow. So maybe the user can visit the website. User clicks login. User enters credentials. And then after the user has entered their credentials and all, we can also just go and say, you know what, the user can see a list of C's favorite excuses. And what else? You know what, that's good enough. I mean, your actual one would probably have more flows, but in this case, I'm trying to do a demo and we are running short of time. But so at this stage, what's next is you go onto Figma and you start designing already. And you actually start to think about this from the perspective of, okay, so now using your user flows, what your user does step by step, now actually translating this into like an actual interface. So now let's head back to the slides, which I accidentally closed. So now let's talk about Figma. So think about Figma like, you know, if you've used Google Slides or PowerPoint, but slightly more powerful. So there are a whole bunch of design tools out there, but we use Figma because it is free and it is, you know, it's fairly simple to use. It is a pretty easy prototyping tool. Other options are like XD. Some people use Illustrator if they have money. There are other things like Sketch and stuff like that, but Figma is the easiest. And Figma is collaborative, where like I can send a link to other people and they can all work on the same project together, which might be useful in this case where you're in a hackathon and everyone needs to work together. And it's a fairly popular tool actually, used by a whole bunch of different companies. So now let's get started with Figma. So if you head over to figma.com, you can see this is their website, very nice. And then if you don't already have an account, you can sign up, but I do, so I will have mine logged in over here. So after you've, no, I don't want my settings. Okay, so after you have signed up or logged in, you'll see this page and you can select a new design file. So now you can say, okay, so let's call this project BuildingBloCS demo. So now you can select up here in frames, and then you can come over here. Let me make all of these slightly bigger. Okay. Right, that went terribly. Figma does not allow me to command plus because, however, I think I can do this. Yep, I can. So you can select up here, I think you can just select presentation and you can go 16 by 9. So 16 by 9 is just the 16 by 9 aspect ratio. And now you can start designing your website. So you can come up to the top corner and say, this is my home page. Okay, so this is my home page. And let's say, you know, this is a homework excuse generator. So this is, maybe I want a list of excuses over here. So let's come here and let's create a box here. And then let's say, my dog ate my homework. This will work on every single teacher, I believe. You know what? We can also bold it. We can set the text as pretty large. Give it some space here. And yep, you know what? This is good enough. And then you can set the color over here. So under fill, you can set the colors. So maybe I want a red over here. Yep. And you can also, if you select the corners over here, you can start to round the corners. So you want those like fancy, very iOS Apple-y look, sure. And you can also duplicate this. In this case, I'm holding down the Option key, but if you're on Windows, you can hold down the Alternate key. And yeah, you know what? Now this looks like an amazing, very legit website that I can use, and everyone will visit. And maybe I want another button here, which is my login button. So you can also search up like SVGs and import them here, but I don't actually have one now, so that's too bad. It'll be a nice little circle for now. So there's a whole bunch of other features, like there's a pen tool if you feel like illustrating a bunch of lines, and then you can fill it. Wait, no, I need to close the path. Yep. And then you can start to add fills to the shape. And there are a whole bunch of shapes here, so you can draw circles in this case. And it is fairly flexible where, you can just press run and then you can, you can see this prototype here, and then if it loads, you can see. And you can stretch the page further so that the prototype actually scrolls. Yep. So this, it doesn't scroll because web, but yeah. Anyways, so this is basically how Figma works. So you can add a whole bunch of UI elements here, and you can customize the interface like this. Okay? So this is a very brief view of Figma. Feel free to spend a lot more time on this, and yeah. Okay, now let's continue on with the slides. So let's talk about UI and UX design. Okay, so the key thing here is that design is not just art. Well, a design may look nice. Design also has to serve a purpose. Like you don't just put a button over there and just be like, it looks nice there. It has to be like, there is a reason why you put it there instead of, let's say, in the top corner or something. So design is also like not super easy. You can't just create a great design. I mean, this Figma prototype is obviously amazing, but you can't just make a great design in like 2 hours or something. And you're not going to just be an amazing designer immediately after this session. But by understanding the rationale behind other designs, you can actually learn from them and adapt them within your design. So it is important to do a whole bunch of iterations and show it to different people to get feedback and see what people want. But there is no singular design that works for everyone. You'll get a bunch of people who would still complain about your design even though, it is like good enough. But you have to check for feedback from a bunch of users. So then there are these design principles. So take note that there are no hard and fast rules on design. I mean, these are all just a bunch of guidelines that you can follow. You can choose not to follow them, but these are things that will help you accomplish a good design. So the first one is layout. Yes. So the first thing is that you want margins in that you don't want stuff to be right next to one another, because things will start to look very cramped if you have a bunch of items or you have very large density, like every single thing is next to one another. It doesn't actually make sense to the user because everything is super cramped and they don't know what to look at. So start to space things out and in a sense let your interface elements breathe. Then next, you should think about your layout. Your layout should be for everyone. It should work whether your user is trying to use your website on a phone or a computer or something. But think about your target audience first. If your target audience are more likely to use your website on a phone, then think about spending more time and effort to optimize that site for mobile. And your goal is to provide a good experience to all users, but if that's not possible, to as many users as possible. So think about considerations in your layout as well. When you're laying things out, what is most important to your user? So realistically, you have a very limited amount of space. You can't just dump every single button in there and pray that it fits. When you lay things out, think ahead. Is this layout actually feasible? You might want a scroll view and a scroll view and a whatever nonsense. Check if it's possible to implement. So let's have a hypothetical scenario. Maybe you're working on this fictional contact tracing app and you want a whole bunch of features over here. So you might have this ridiculous interface, which is, which turns out to be, very cramped and very cluttered, and, just your user doesn't know what to click on because everything is there. Well, the app is completely functional, but, to the user, it just feels very hastily put together and everything is everywhere. But you can fix it by just hiding stuff in submenus because you don't need to show everything to your user at the same time. And consider just saving the home screen, like the first page they go on, to put the information that will be most important to the user so that it's easiest for them to access. And also, having empty space isn't exactly a bad thing. So now let's move to colors. Oh, these slides are great. So there are different color harmonies. So you can use this when you're picking a color palette for your design, because you want to stick to a consistent color palette and theme in your design. If you pick colors from everywhere, then your design will also look very messy. So colors also have meaning. So, if you look at all of these colors, what do these evoke? I mean, the background just evokes blindness, but these colors here, they do have meaning and they do have associations. These associations can also differ based on like cultures and stuff, but that is well beyond this scope. And also think about the colors within your site, actually. So colors are important in your website's experience. So if you have a red button over there, like, how like logout buttons are always red, or like, are you like delete my account forever kind of thing. Those are called destructive actions. These are like actions that are, in a sense, irreversible. You don't want your user to accidentally go and click it and then suddenly they're like, wait, what just happened? So it is, in a sense, to wake your user up. Also, consistency matters. So colors help to form your website's visual identity. So it's important to choose from like a limited color palette, so that it also allows you to, it also allows you to communicate your brand. So think about this, how you associate like the orange from PowerPoint with PowerPoint, and the green with Excel, and blue with Word, and same with Google Slides, and if you use macOS and iWork, those. Then what about gradients? This slide used to be worse, but they made me make it less worse. Okay. Yeah. So gradients are dangerous in that, if they're done right, they can actually make your interface look really modern and really actually pretty professional. But the issue is that if they're done wrong, they can kind of look very messy and very tacky, like this entire slide, and they look like a 5-year-old vomited crayon on your screen and something that came out of the 2000s. So general guidelines is that you don't actually want to have too many colors in your gradients. Stick to like a monochromatic gradient, which means one color. So maybe a light shade of blue to a darker shade of blue. And then look at the background. Please don't do that. So let's say you're a designer of this, this ride-hailing service. So this is your design, okay? So yeah, I mean, it makes sense, I guess. Your buttons are nicely placed, but the colors don't actually make sense, because now you look at this and you go, what's actually clickable? Is this area, I believe there's a pointer mode, but I'm too lazy to find it. Oh, here. Is this area actually clickable? Is this one clickable? Am I supposed to click on this only? You don't actually know what's clickable. And that's kind of the point. If you limit the number of colors down to just the ones that are, for example, this one only has 3 colors, it's now a lot clearer which elements you want to focus on. So maybe you want to just focus on this one word, this one button here, and everything else doesn't need focus. And you can use the green as your like brand color in this sense. Now let's talk about contrast. Yeah, the projector doesn't help with that. So contrast can help to increase readability. I mean, you saw in the title slide, if the projector was, you saw in the title slide, it is very hard to read. And that's kind of the point. So if you have, for example, white text on a very light gray background, it becomes hard to read. But if you make it dark, it works. But it can also be used to create a hierarchy. So for example, your subtitle might be a lighter shade of gray than, let's say, your title. And it can also be used to separate different sections in your website. I reused this slide, so it might still say app, but yes. So for example, you see a whole bunch of like very flat design sites might use a darker shade for like an aside or something. So let's say you are designing a news app, okay? Now, because you design a whole bunch of random apps now. And then someone complains, you use white color and then your image got white. What do you expect me to read? And then you look at this, and then this is the design. So, I mean, obviously, we can all still read it, but think about this from the perspective of someone who doesn't have as good vision as us, and then they look at this and go, I cannot read half the words on here, and I don't like this website. So, I guess you can change the color to black, but you still face the issue. And if your image changes, you face the issue again. So what you can do in this case is you can like contemplate why on earth you chose to base it on an animal that's both black and white, or you can try to actually fix it. So the solution in this case is to like try to darken the image or something so that it provides enough contrast such that it is actually visible and readable. So you have to think about it when you, like, let's say you allow users to import images or you are loading images from a feed or something, because if you are overlaying text on top of it, sometimes they can become very easily unreadable like this. Yep. Okay, now let's talk about typography. How much time do I have? Still got time. Okay. So typography is basically choosing your fonts. Okay? Please don't pick every single font. It is a terrible idea. So stick to 1 or 2 fonts. If you go with too many, no one actually knows what's going on. So having multiple fonts will make things appear kind of unprofessional. Like, look at this slide, very unprofessional, right? Okay, so it may be tempting to just use a whole bunch of different fonts, but it's kind of a nightmare because coding-wise, you have to add a whole bunch of you have to link up a whole bunch of fonts, but in your design will look very inconsistent from page to page. So like we are very professional here, and we use one font only for like this entire deck, except for this slide, which has like 10 different fonts. And play with your font weights. So font weights are basically this. So you see it's lighter at the top and then bolder at the bottom. So font weights allow you to add emphasis, but you might not want things to be that bold in that sense, so you can maybe use a medium. So they can allow you to create a hierarchy in this case. So for example, this PDF thing over here, oh wow, the colors on this thing is not great, but I should have picked the better background color. There is a background on that, but yes. So you can see that this PDF thing, if you bold the title, it actually draws more attention than simply just increasing the font size. These two are actually the same font size, and these two are not the same font size. You can also use it to emphasize information, like you're emphasizing the first name on a card, on a contact card in this case. So another thing is, please don't cram too much information. This is a very excessive example, but you still want to make sure that your text remains readable no matter what. So use short descriptions and whenever possible, make sure that keep your information bite-sized. If your font size is too small, it will become unreadable for your users. So font size is also important. No, font choice is important. So what font you choose affects how easy it is to read. I mean, there are a whole bunch of very fanciful display fonts, like all those cursive fonts, but do they actually make sense in your website? I mean, if you're using a custom font, you should just make sure that it is easily readable. And you're strongly, there is no system type font in web, but actually I should remove that. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of font options for you, for example on Google Fonts and stuff, but there are a whole bunch of super fanciful display ones, there's monospace ones. Think about which one is actually appropriate for your website in this case. You're not, if you're making a game, then you might go with a custom font, but please don't go with some that is super hard to read and people actually struggle reading. So let's say you're trying to design a chat app, okay? So, maybe this is how your interface looks like. So, I mean, right off the bat, you can kind of see a couple of issues here, the fonts are a mess and everything is a pain. But so there are a few issues here. So you can't really have emphasis on whatever is going on because everything is different. But what if you just change it like this? So if you look carefully, the 50 messages over there is now bold to emphasize the information. The sender's name is now a bit smaller so that it focuses the attention on the actual message content. And using one consistent font, I think this is IBM Plexsense, you just have all of your information all of the information actually looks consistent. Okay, so now I think we still have time. Oh my god, I'm talking very fast. Okay, yep, so now we have some time to do a design challenge. Okay, so here's the challenge. Try to replicate an interface in Figma. So why would you want to clone it? So cloning someone else's design will actually allow you to familiarize yourself with the tools within Figma. So if you clone someone else's design, it allows you to understand their design rationale better. You know, when you do it, you go and think to yourself, why did they choose to put the text over here instead of maybe somewhere else? Why did they choose a horizontally scrolling view instead of vertically? We have alarms every like few minutes. Okay. And things like that. And then you can try to upload a screenshot onto the Figma workshop channel, which I believe Ray Young has set up, and we'll review these after lunch. So this is an interface. So this is Inbox by Google. It was great while it lasted. Yeah, so you can try to use Figma and try to clone this right now. Yep. Yes. So in a sense, you can take this and you can recreate it in Figma. So let's say, let's just, okay, so maybe you want to create a new frame over here. So let's take presentation. And maybe, let's say you want to clone it so you have this text over here. So you want inbox over here. So basically, you replicate this interface, but now you do it yourself and you do it on Figma. Don't just like slap this image in there and call it a day. Okay. Yep. So you can feel free to try this out. Yes. Okay. Huh? What? Yeah, sure. Yep. If you have any questions, feel free to just ask them. Yep. Okay. I've sent the lecture. I've sent it on Discord. Okay.
You can actually show.
Yeah. So the image is currently on Discord. So if you, oh great, now I have to wait for Discord to start. If you are not on the Discord, you can ask Figma. Okay, if you're not on the Discord, you can approach any of the organizers here and they'll help you get on the Discord. And you can check out this image over here and then you can refer to it by yourself. So you can take a look over here and these are the instructions, okay? So let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Sigam, for your time. Now we're moving back to our workshop that we had before lunch, which is the Figma workshop with Jiasen.
Okay, mic test, mic test. Can you all hear me? Is the mic even? Test.
Yeah, sure.
Close enough. Okay, so continuing on. What? Okay,
Wait, ask them to submit first.
yeah. No, because it's harder to type. Okay. So continuing on, you can submit on. Okay, so right now you don't have to be completely finished with what you have. You can just submit it onto Discord first. I mean, as I walked around just now, I could see a couple of fairly interesting ones. What the? Okay, I could see a couple of fairly interesting submissions. So you can take a screenshot of what you have now and then just submit it in there first. We'll give you the next 3 minutes. So 1 p.m.
Submit your work by 1 p.m. guys.
Yep.
Just feel free to send a screenshot. Yeah.
Yep. You can just submit it as it is. We don't expect you to be to have like a fully completed, like super fanciful one because no one's gonna finish that. Yep, okay, I see a couple of submissions here. Does inbox by Google really look that much like? Does it look like Google really look that much like? Does inbox by Google really look that much like things?
It does, actually. It does.
Oh my god. I mean, you're not wrong, but like.
Maybe after they X the product, then my person was like, okay, now it's our turn.
Why does this lapel not work well? Why does this lapel not work well?
Your shirt is
Too loose.
yeah, and you want to keep it at an angle.
Oh.
So like it's like kind of like angled upwards instead of just like angled forwards.
There's no angle you can clip it in.
Huh?
You can't really clip it at an angle.
It was actually all centered lah.
Oh, like this?
Like yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Try. Never mind, just wait 1 more minute.
Ah.
Just ask them 1 more minute. Submit.
Okay, 1 more minute to submit. Not much better. Chairs feel like they're falling apart. Okay, how long more? Were there no prizes for the Kahoot? It's not a Kahoot, had no prizes. Okay, yep, 30 seconds. So if you've done something, just feel free to take a screenshot and just send it onto Discord in the Figma workshop channel. Oh, really? Holy shit, that's no, I actually don't.
Yo.
Oh wow. I'm sorry, but this one really gives the difference. No, the word because it's like multiple features. Okay. If you're still submitting, feel free to just keep submitting. We'll just click through some of these and we'll take a look. Okay. So thanks to everyone who has submitted already. So let's see. Oh.
Speak slightly on.
Okay.
Just a slightly on.
So this is honestly this reminds me of in Microsoft Teams when you open up a Word document. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. I mean, pretty good attempt. I can see that you tried out the search bar. I'm not sure if this was like a rotated rectangle and circles or maybe you found an SVG of a search icon, but pretty interesting. There's also this nice thing. So I assume you found an SVG. Wait, no, this looks more like circles. Okay, yeah, but you can import SVGs. So what you can also do is something like material.io, what material.io, wait, no, fonts.google.com/icons. So this is an icon set by Google, and there's a whole bunch of icons here that you can use within your website and your prototypes. So if you come here, you can actually download an SVG and just chuck it into Figma. Okay, then let's check out this. Oh, so this is actually pretty good as well. So you can see things like contrast being used here to like differentiate different, to like separate different sections of the website over here. And now this has a bunch of green dots that I have no clue what they're for, but sure. Oh, image placeholders probably. But yeah, good job. So I mean, you replicated the shadow, which is one of the features that you can find in Figma. Nice exe. Okay, yep, so good job to this as well. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. You know what? This is close enough to Google Inbox, right? This is email, right? But I mean, this is quite nice as well. I do like the card view and the rounded corners. But another one thing would be you might want to try to align these such that they're all on the same line. So it's the same distance from the edge to the element. So make sure the margin here is the same so that it looks a bit more consistent. Okay, let's take a look. So, oh wow, this has a lot of your text spacing, your character spacing is quite large, but no worries. So this is pretty interesting too. So you use lines over here to create the menu thing there. Okay, so let's check out some of these. So, oh wow, this really looks like Word, but so this one's also fairly interesting. So you can see this one uses a whole bunch of rectangles instead. You might want to try to play around with other tools in Figma. Okay, and oh, this has a fancy Mac view. Oh, yes. Now I'm very biased to this. Oh, you also have a profile image. Sure. Okay, so yeah, so pretty good job overall. I'll scroll through a couple more of these. So yep. Oh, new puppy. Okay. Yeah. So you can kind of see a bunch of the design principles earlier, like shown here. Like for example, just having a single consistent font throughout the entire thing, just so that it keeps a singular theme, and just sticking with a single accent color, in this case blue. Honestly, my favorite one has to be this, but yes. You know what? Is there a starboard here?
No starboard.
I don't care, I'm still gonna start it. Yeah, so I think this is a very good job, honestly. Okay. Yep, so a couple more. So I mean, this is pretty great too. I mean, you guys didn't really have much time, so honestly, I'm surprised that any of you actually managed to submit anything. But yeah, so this is... Wait, isn't that the same profile image? Oh, sure, whatever.
I think they cropped it from the original photo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, then there is... Yeah, so you have the icons here. I assume you cropped this from the original photo, but yeah, no worries. Okay, so now let's move on. Okay, so now let's move to the fun part. Okay, the hackathon. So, do I need to stop and present again? Actually, I might have to. Yeah, because the slide got updated.
I think it's updated.
Yeah.
It's updated.
Okay, so the hackathon now. So now we'll release the theme of the hackathon. So when you guys get the theme, you guys can start thinking about the actual idea you want to build. And here it is. So how might we utilize technology such as AI to better improve the lives of students and teachers? So you guys can start thinking about this now, okay? But to help you guys think, here is the journal. Okay, send the team in the chat. So the team will be sent in announcements.
The team. Okay.
The theme.
1 second.
You know what? I'll leave it on the hackathon team slide so that everyone can think about it.
Yeah. 1 second. Oh, I'm going here.
What?
It's screenshotted it. Alright, the team has been sent into announcements. You can now take a look.
Yep. So here is the...
Well,
here's
it's been
the
sent.
Oh, okay. Here's the journal.
It's been sent, yes.
Here's the journal. You guys can make a copy of it at tk.sg/bbcs-journal. And you can just make a copy of it and get started actually. Get started, just maybe like discuss with your teammates and... Wait, let me just send it. No, I don't want. No, screenshot.
tk.sg/bbcs-journal, right? I'm sending in announcements.
Yep. Don't open. Yep. So, honestly, that is pretty much the entire plan for the after lunch portion of this workshop. So if you have any questions, any further questions, then feel free to contact me at any of these avenues. But I'll leave this slide on so that everyone can panic over the hackathon theme for a bit. Okay? Is there anything else? Yeah, I'll have to go mentors to help them.
This one, I can do.
Huh?
But it's just like,
Honestly,
you can ask your group mentors if you want to.
it's now your problem.
Pass me. Prototype demo, right? And then the slides. Don't you want to use slides?
Yeah, sure. You can link the slides. Oh wait, here. Okay. Oh yes, here's a couple of do's and don'ts. So you can grab the prototype demo from earlier over here. You can view the deck, and you can also just get started now. There's one bullet point extra. It's annoying me.
Okay, yeah, so I've also just sent the links into the announcement channel, so you can take a look at the slides that Jiachen has gone through just now. Specifically, if you want to look at the design part again, or something like that, or stuff that you might have glossed over just now, you can go ahead and take a clearer look at it. I've also sent the link for the journal, so you guys might want to work in your groups to kind of discuss, what kind of problem statement does your team want to work towards, and how do you want to tackle this team. And lastly, if the group facilitators, if you're still here and you are free to help your team, just feel free to pop by your team and kind of like maybe facilitate the discussion a bit. Yeah. So actually from now until 1:40 is actually time for you to kind of like discuss within your groups and start your initial prototyping stage. Yeah. So this is also time, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or come and ask people in yellow shirts or blue shirts or whatever organizers are wearing.
Anyone with a stick
what questions that you have. So if you for people who are online, you can send your questions into I guess Figma workshop as well, and then we will address them there. Yeah.
Thanks for watching the video. To watch more, do click on the playlist linked in the description or check out our channel for more videos like these. And if you liked, do consider subscribing to our channel. It really means a lot to us. Thank you and have a pleasant day.